Let's do a lot of questions. This is unit 1 and we are going to solve the multiple choice question. First question is, the purpose of standards include all of the following except establishing the basis of measurement of internal efficiency, you can say. Now he said that all of the followings are, some of them is the purpose to make standards, but one is out of that is not the basic purpose for that we make standards. So apparently there are two dimensions. First of all, you should know what is a standard and how it helps to create an effect. This is the theoretical knowledge that you should have in the mind, is what is standard. First of all, if you see audit performance, surely once you set the audit plan, you set the audit standards, then of course it is going to create a performance in terms of audit. Then state basic principle that represent the practice of internal auditing as it should be. And because it presents the practice of internal auditing as it should be, as a policy, as a procedure, Fostering improved organizational process and processes. This is true. Once we bring standard, it start giving more faster, quicker look of the organization and the work. So I think the first, third and fourth options are the advantages to have standards. And if you see B, guiding the ethical conduct, for that we have code of conduct. We don't have standards to follow. Because if you remember in our the learning sessions, we saw a pyramid. This was starting that this is the mandatory and this is optional. In optional we have the practice guide advisories, and in mandatory compliance we have the definition of internal audit, then the code of conduct, and then on top of this we have standards. Standards are mainly two types. One is the attribute and one is the performance standards, and both determine the implementation. So guiding ethical conduct is not the right perspective behind the standards. Now the proper organizational role of internal auditing is to do what? It says that the role of internal auditing is what? Now, if you remember the definition of the internal auditing, it helps to improve, bring efficiency, effectiveness, add value. So, if you see the option, it serves as an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity that add value to the operation. So, how we understand this question is, this was the test of your definition. That do you have a definition of internal auditing in mind? Same way you should have an internal control definition, risk assessment, governance, all key terms should be in your mind, so things will be, you will be able to solve the question in the right way. Other option we can read just for you, assist the external auditor to reduce external audit fee. No, this is not the role. This is negotiation. It cannot be the effect of the internal auditing. Perform studies to assist in attainment of more efficient operation. Okay, efficient operation, but effective, efficient, and day-to-day add value. That is more perfect than D is more perfect than B. It's closer to. Serve as an investigative arm of the board. They are not investigator. In fact, they add value from their techniques, auditing techniques, and serve the best to the audit committee. This is the best answer. Then he says, one of the purposes of international standard for the professional practice of internal auditing, as stated in the introduction to the current version of standard. Why we put standard? He says, what is define the role of a standard? Standard is to guide. It's set a pattern. It's a criteria. So it adds performance when you tell people this is required and this is to achieve. So establish the basis for evaluating internal auditing performance is the right answer, because standard is focused on that. Now if you see other option, encourage external auditor to make more extensive use, that makes no sense, because standards are applied internally. Then the auditor has its own standard, he has to follow US GAAS, US GAAPs, and if it is internal auditing, then he has other things. Establish the independence of IIA and emphasize the objectivity. This is we achieve through charter, not from standard. We have to understand what is the purpose of charter. This is the B. And encourage the professionalism. Okay, but this cannot be, because professionalism we cannot define. There is no definition of professionalism. We use this word to say that you should be professional enough to do your work. Internal audit activity may involve which of the following? Now, internal auditor, as by default role, they are giving assurance. But if the charter allows, then they can do the consulting. This is we discussed. So if you see option A, assurance, yes. B, consulting, yes. So we need an option that combines together both assurance and consulting services. Then with standard, expand upon the other categories of standard is the implementation standards, because performance and attribute will be the standards, and how you perform, how you implement depend upon your attribute and other things. Now see, internal auditor often faces special problems when performing an engagement at a foreign subsidiary. Means if you are an internal auditor and your head office is in US, you are for audit purposes in UAE, in Saudi, in Qatar somewhere. So it's a general conception that US internal auditing techniques not applicable, not workable outside the US. So he says which of the following statement is false with respect to the conduct of international engagement. The very first, he says IIA standard do not apply outside of the USS. No, USA, no, it's not like that. IIA, Institute of Internal Auditing, give direction, standard, guidelines, code of ethics. That is prevalently all over the world. If you see other options are, it's closer to, but this is the most important. Which of the following best describe the purpose of internal audit activity? What is the purpose of internal audit activity? It adds value and improve an organization operation. So this is the purpose, even this is the definition, that it adds value, it's a systematic, disciplined approach, and you give audit assurance. This is, so it depends upon your bookish knowledge that you are able to find the right information from these four options. Then he says the function of internal auditing as related to communication results. Now, like once we are planning internal audit, then audit will be communicated. Like from here and there, how departments will work with each other. There should be a communication channel, right? Based on that, identify inadequate controls that increase the likelihood of unauthorized expenses. Means you will try to report those things which is related to internal controls. That is more into reporting part, that internal audit is more concerned about inadequate controls. The key word is inadequate controls. Ensure compliance, review the expenditure item and match each item with expense incurred. This is reconciliation, determine whether any employee are expending fund without authorization. This is authorization loophole. But internal auditor is more concerned about inadequacy of the workflow. He is concerned, but he is not much concerned about authorization, other things. Who authorized? This is management part. But in terms of his work, he has to find out what is the inadequacy in the business phenomenon. Now the internal audit activity scope of responsibility include which kind of risk? Now if you see, the eliminating risk, they cannot eliminate. They are managing, okay, close by controlling, but they are most as evaluating. What is evaluating is their work is to evaluate the system planned by the management into day-to-day efficiency.